thank you very much for joining, everyone. So what have we got in store for you this morning? We've got a really busy and packed agenda, but I'll just go through a little bit of housekeeping bits first. So first of all, I should probably introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Casey Phillips, and I'm the business manager for Sophos at TD Synnex, and I'm delighted to say we're joined by a number of speakers today to keep the content really fresh and interesting for you. So a couple of people from the Sophos side, a couple of people from the TD side, and one of our brilliant partners as well today. So just a couple of things to note is that the session today will be recorded, and this recording will be uploaded onto our Sophos dedicated trusted advisor page over the coming days. So if you think the session is going to be of interest to any of your colleagues, feel free to share that link over to them. It's going to be completely open to the public, so anyone will be able to watch that. If you have any questions during this session, which I'm sure you will, please pop them into the Q&A box as we go. We've got 15 minutes dedicated at the end of this session for all of your questions. And then moving on into the agenda and some of the fantastic content we've got planned for you today. So in a minute, we'll be kicking off with Kyle Torres from Sophos with a really great and detailed overview of the MSP programme, the market opportunity, and that real why messaging from Sophos. After Kyle has finished, I'm delighted to say that we'll be joined by one of our very valued existing MSP partners, and we've got Craig, the commercial director from Arc Systems, on the line with us today, who will be answering some questions from Amy and Sean. And we'll be delving into some of Craig's experiences on the programme and why he's such an advocate of it for us. And then, as I said, lastly, we'll be getting into the Q&A. So any questions you've got, and I think Craig's also up for answering some questions from you as well. So anything you've got, please pop them into the Q&A as we go, and we'll get all those questions answered for you at the end. So without further ado, I'll hand over to you, Kyle, for the main chunk of the content. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Casey. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Kyle Torres. I'm the Channel Account Executive for the Sophos MSP Programme, looking after our strategic and security partners throughout EMEA. Just to introduce myself and our team. So we've got quite the team here in EMEA, and I'm actually joined by one of my UKI colleagues, Amy. So she is our MSP Channel Account Executive looking after the UK. So we've got quite the team here. We've got quite a few based in the UK as well. So some good MSP support there across the region. So I'm going to jump straight in, and we're going to actually take a look at the market opportunity first. So what is driving, this demand for managed services? Why are customers looking to essentially, outsource a bit more of their IT and their security specifically? We see sort of three key areas here. One of those areas are those customers that are more technologically complex. So these tend to be those types of customers where they require 24/7 support and they don't have or they don't have the in-house expert skills to deliver those. So a lot of up and coming small businesses that are, really focused on, delivering their product or running their business, and, they need some help with their IT support, or, maybe some of their business systems need a bit more managing that they look to try to outsource. Then we have those customers with security concerns specifically. So they know the threat landscape is evolving. They are reading the news. They're keeping up to date. They might not be able to articulate how ransomware or anti-ransomware particularly work, but they do know that they need it. Their industry is a target. They themselves as a business are a target, and they need this next gen security, or what's been proven to work. So those customers with security concerns. And then lastly, those customers that are looking to shift from CapEx to a more predictable OpEx model. So CapEx, which stands for capital expenditure, that's when we've got the budget, we've got that budget that we can spend upfront to cover our security needs for the next 1, 2, or 3 years, compared to OpEx, which is operational expenditure, which is more of a monthly running cost. Now, OpEx does tend to be more expensive than CapEx in the end. And a really good example of this, we see this as consumers every day. We see CapEx versus OpEx with insurance. We see it with streaming services. Every streaming service offers you the option to pay for 1 year up front, similar to insurance, or you can pay for it monthly. Typically, the monthly cost will work out to more, but the majority of your standard consumers tend to go for this monthly because it's much more an operational cost. It's a cost that comes out every month. Especially in terms of insurance, when you're thinking you've got a new driver, probably doesn't have the funds in their bank account to pay for £1,500 of insurance in one go, so they'll choose a monthly option. So then we've got that, that CapEx versus OpEx. And something we've seen a lot during the lockdowns drove a lot of customers towards looking at this OpEx model because they realized that the landscape is unpredictable. We've had a lockdown where companies had to close down, they had to furlough employees, investments that they had made sometimes up as early as a month before, they were now losing out on that investment. So now they're looking at more of an operational cost, something that's flexible, something that can change month to month. Looking at how this opportunity affects the SMB specifically, we see things like the opportunity to help them increase efficiency and growth. So the skills gap, the IT skills gap, we'll lead with this statistic. 82% of businesses report a shortage of cybersecurity skills. The skills gap in IT has been a thing for many years, and that also goes up to cybersecurity. Small businesses need these advanced cyber skills. They come with a large price tag. So these businesses are now looking at managed service providers and managed security service providers to offload that for them, but now the demand is being passed up to there. So what can we as a vendor do to help address this skills shortage? And that's by providing the staff ourselves. Keeping SMBs up to date and out of danger. So the risk for an SMB that does get breached, we'll say hacked, will get breached, it can be very damaging to the point where the majority of, or over half of them, would go out of business in 6 months. So it's very damaging to them. They need that support. And lastly, to reduce the risks and financial impact. So this is more related to their overall cybersecurity strategy. So, hardening, resiliency, incident response. If something happens, how are you going to tackle it? Compliancies, making sure that you're up to date on your compliancies. So that overall hardening and resilience message. Now, how has the business landscape changed? I know with Sophos, you usually see a lot around the threat landscape. I mean, I think we know the attacks are going up, attacks are increasing. It is becoming more dangerous out there. We need more tech, to fight these sort of evolving adversaries. But what changes in the business landscape have brought that on? We've seen in the past few years, a huge push for this hybrid workforce. Some people in the office, some people remote, full remote companies. So, moving to this hybrid workforce, the cloud migration. So having a lot of people that had to go remote means that companies need to migrate to the cloud. A lot of challenges in there. And all of this leading to an increased workload, not just for the customers that are trying to shift the way they do their business, but the MSPs that are now taking on these projects to accomplish this for them. And 69% of those end user IT teams said their cybersecurity workload had increased. And then we move on to the trusted perimeter. So the idea of this trusted perimeter was that you could go in, you would go into your office. The trusted perimeter may even start with a receptionist or a key card or some type of physical security control you need to get into your building. Once you are physically into your office, you can sit down at your machine, which is most likely protected by a firewall. It's got corporate policies in place. You are within that trusted perimeter, that trusted network, and now you can access everything that you need to within the safety, of this lovely trusted perimeter. And what we've seen with this shift, not just the shift to cloud, but this perimeter, this trusted perimeter dissolving. We've got more remote users than ever. We've got with the increase of SaaS services to enable those remote users, and then the public cloud to support and start to do their infrastructure on a cloud-based, through the cloud. So all of these things have led to this dissolution of the trusted perimeter. And it's another reason why we're seeing a lot of solutions, and Sophos as well has come out with our zero trust network access. It's a solution to try to address this lack of a trusted perimeter. And what zero trust, what that mentality, methodology, or however you want to say it, it assumes that there is no more trusted perimeter, there is no more trusted network. Every user operates on the assumption of zero trust unless they fulfill requirements, at which case they can access only the applications and systems that they need to on as and when they need to, rather than going into a trusted perimeter and being able to access everything. Now you can only get what you need when you need it, and you set those policies. So that's that idea of zero trust, because the trusted perimeter doesn't really exist so much anymore. And the approach that we're seeing taken towards it today, a lot of disparate tools, a lot of manual processes. It's giving us reactive response. We can't be proactive in our security. And the reason we want to be proactive in our security is because we want to, drive revenue. We want to do things that are going to build value with that customer. We can be proactive in our security, show them the value, and ideally, upsell, cross-sell, get them to take more with us as a business because we are proactive in covering their systems. I mean, all of it makes it more resource intensive. When you've got these different tools, these manual processes, only being able to respond reactively, it's very resource intensive. And just kind of leading on to that resource intensive, from a security specific standpoint, we see a lot of point security products. So when we talk about disparate tools, manual processes, we see point security products. I've got 5 different customers that take 5 different security products for 5 different problems. These products would tend to work in isolation. They don't share information. They require multiple consoles to manage, and they're built separately. Now, there may be some background work you can do to integrate these, but it would typically require, again, additional work on top to bring these point security products in if they can, if the people that made those products want you to, basically, want you to be able to. At Sophos, we are pushing forward with cybersecurity as a service. So this is a message where the idea is that the products can work together. They can constantly share information. They offer you one centralized place to manage those, and they are compatible by design. A really good example of this that we've done where we can bring in third parties into this cybersecurity as a service message is through our MDR integrations. The fact that we can take not just Sophos products, but other third-party products, we can get them to work together. We can get them to share information. So that's just something interesting. We'll talk just a little bit more about MDR in an MSP context coming up. And this is quite the slide, so I'll go ahead and break this down just a little bit. But what we wrap everything into for cybersecurity as a service, we call that the adaptive cybersecurity ecosystem. So this is, the full view from bottom to top of what Sophos has in regards to our ACE, our adaptive cybersecurity ecosystem. So I'll go over this with you briefly. We'll start from the bottom, work our way up. So underpinning everything is the data lake. So the data lake exists in every Sophos central account, and the data lake is our central repository for all of our event alert data. And I believe we can offer up to 90 days of on-device reporting and 60 days of off-device reporting through that data lake. Not just the Sophos event and alert data, but if, let's say, you are using MDR, you've got those integrations. All of the telemetry from those integrations is also going into that data lake. And our threat intelligence is what pulls up from that data lake. So the artificial intelligence that drives things, like InterceptX, our Sophos Labs teams that are, in the background, and they're running, those samples, they're running possibly malicious samples and putting that out there to the community. And then our security operations team, so the MDR guys, the SOC teams, all of them are using that data lake to get that rich threat intelligence. What do we do with that threat intelligence? We use it to make our products more secure and more efficient. And the products that we can cover, a wide range from the endpoint side, things like endpoint servers, mobile devices, even managing BitLocker and FileVault through device encryption. The network security side, so we say that, Sophos, we have the option to go in there and sell the full network stack, and that can include a firewall, a switch, an access point, the relevant modules, as well as a zero trust agent, if you wanted to put that one on there as well. Cloud security, so some good cloud specific products, and we'll talk a little bit more about what we're doing around the cloud, but some good cloud specific products like cloud native security, cloud workload protection, which is essentially being able to take our servers and run them in the cloud, and our cloud series firewall, so our virtual firewall as a service that can be used as bring your own license, in those cloud environments like AWS or Azure. And then the email products, so email security, phish that. So just a few there. Now, what can we protect with those products? A range of different devices and instances, PCs, mobiles, servers, VMs, containers, cloud environments. So all those products can go across multiple different platforms. And then on the top is what you see. So what's the top layer? What you see might differ depending on the capacity you're using Sophos. Now, if you're using full managed services, you might not really look at Sophos Central much at all. And indeed, a lot of our MSP end users, so those end users of MSPs, may never see anything of this central admin. If you're looking at co-managed IT scenarios, you can absolutely give them role-based access control into their own central admins, but the majority of the time it's the partner, it's our channel partner, our MSP that's going to go in here and look at this. And they're either going to communicate with the MDR team or the rapid response team through a full managed service, or you can be hands-on going into Sophos Central and doing it as a more DIY sort of perspective. But either way, that's just kind of what you can see on the top. And then pinning it together on the sides. On the left, we've got our range of open APIs, and on the right, third-party integrations. So the third-party integrations don't just cover those MDR integrations, but also the SIEM API integrations, our threat intelligence feeds, things like Intellics that will let you, excuse me, things like Intellics that will allow you to upload potentially malicious files to get reputation scores. So a lot of different integrations there. And then you've got the open APIs. So on developer.sophos.com, we've got that range of central APIs as well as Cloud Optics APIs. And if you're looking to do something a little bit more bespoke in your actions, in your management, program that yourself, we've got all of those APIs available. And they don't just let you fetch data. I mean, we do have APIs that do things like let you fetch your monthly usage. But we also have APIs that let you take actions like device isolation. So a very wide range of open APIs there. So going into the MSP program, we've talked a little bit about the market opportunity, how Sophos addresses that through its tools, through its software, through the ACE, the Adaptive Cybersecurity Ecosystem. So how does this apply to the MSP Flex program? What's available? How is it licensed? The good news is, if anyone had looked into the MSP Flex program 5 or 6 years ago, you would have noticed there was a huge disparity on what we had available monthly and what you could purchase on term. And today, we've got a very good offering compared to that side. All of those core products, all of those software-based products available on monthly. So things like firewall subscriptions. And I say subscription specifically because we do not have hardware on monthly, and I do have a slide just to go over the details of that. But all of the Sophos firewall subscriptions are available monthly, as well as the virtual appliances themselves. So we do have a full virtual firewall as a service option. You can provision a virtual firewall appliance with a license completely through your partner dashboard and pay for the whole thing monthly. All of our server licenses, whether it's InterceptX Essentials, Advanced, XDR, or any level of MDR, we have those available on monthly. And just a quick note on those server licenses, they are hybrid cloud ready, meaning that wherever your server lives, if it's a traditional server, if it's in Google, if it's in AWS, if it's in Azure, we can use that same monthly server license to protect that. And it's all through one single pane to manage. Our cloud licenses, so Cloud Optics, or maybe it's known as Cloud Optics Advanced, so we have that available on a per asset per month basis. Our firewall device reporting, so if you wanted the advanced firewall reporting, we do have that available on monthly. And then all of our user-based licenses. So these are our things like endpoint security, mobile, device encryption, email, phish threat, ZTNA, zero trust. So we have those user-based licenses. So how do we license this? What does it actually look like? When billing time, when invoice time comes, how are we going to license that and determine what the prices are? We've got two key kind of ideas with this, and that's volume-based discounts with aggregate license calculation. Volume-based discounts is pretty self-explanatory. The more licenses you have, the cheaper it gets. So it's fairly common across vendors. It's a volume-based. The more licenses you have, the lower your buy price is. But something that's unique about the MSP Flex program is the aggregate license calculation. With the Flex program, you will never have different customers. You will never have different customers that use the same product but have different buy prices. If you have your customers, if you have 5 customers using InterceptX Advanced, regardless of their size, all 5 customers will have the same buy price. And for your volume, we'll actually take the total count, the aggregate license calculation. Because we don't do that, we don't do your volume on a per customer basis. We do your volume based on the total amount of licenses within each category. So the user licenses, so we'll look at this MSP as an example, they have 1,120 user licenses. Now this can be spread across multiple customers. These 1,120 user licenses, it can be 1,000 email, 1,000 mailboxes protected with 120 device encryption licenses spread across 50 customers. Or it can be one large enterprise customer with 1,100 InterceptX advanced licenses. We just look at the aggregate. So when this MSP's bill would come, when we do the billing and usage run, all of those user licenses, regardless of which one it is, would be at that 1,000 to 4,999 price band because we're taking the aggregate. And we push that across the firewall subscriptions. Again, however many devices have a firewall subscription, they will all add up. Whatever band you are on, that will be your buy price. So you get that volume-based discount, but we do that as an aggregate across all of your customers. And you can see we've got the workload protection licenses. They've got 33 servers. Again, is this one server for 33 different customers, or is this one customer with 33 servers? That doesn't matter. We're looking at the aggregate. Now we will provide you do have the ability to get a usage file, which will give you a nice breakdown of all of your customers and who's using what. And on the invoice, we typically will summarize that information for you. I did mention the hardware before, that we did not have the hardware as a service. Sophos, it's not something we've ever traditionally provided. However, we do have, I think we've gotten a lot more flexible with our hardware ordering now that we've got support from distributors. So if you need a appliance, if you need hardware for a firewall, let's say you want a physical firewall and put a monthly subscription on top, you would purchase that appliance up front. I would encourage you to deal reg, go in, use the deal registration process, deal register that appliance. The exception for MSPs is that you may choose to own that hardware yourself. When you do a deal registration, you put in those customer details. If you are an MSP Flex partner, you do have the option to purchase the hardware under your name. And then when you apply the license, you can assign it to a customer in Sophos Central. Meaning if this customer, if they go out of business or the contract ends, something happens where you're now out of contract with them, you can just take that appliance back, and then you could even assign it to a new customer. The discount is just based on the partner level. So there is an incentive for our MSP partners, even though our MSP pricing, our monthly pricing is partner by price. Our partners are incentivized to try to move up those partner levels because it will get you those better margins when you need hardware. And that's not just the firewalls, it's all hardware. It's access points, switches, firewalls, and all those modules. So who does what in this kind of relationship? So we've got the distribution, we've got Sophos, we've got the MSP. So we'll start with Sophos. We maintain the overall legal relationship. We are responsible for those T's and C's and maintaining that we meet our end of those. We're also responsible for the training and certification, as well as the product itself and features, things like synchronized security, making sure that those products are working. We also have the obligation to provide that enhanced level of support to MSPs where they have already provided the initial support. We've got the distributor here, so we've got TD Synnex here to help support us with things, especially for MSPs like hardware logistics, but also to make sure that you can find those MSP terms. If you're interested, they can show you where that's at, where you can sign up for it, take care of the invoicing, and then go through Sophos. And then the MSP themselves provide that initial level of support to the customer. We do say level 1 support. I think that level 1 support, it's tough to find a hard definition for that. If you're concerned whether or not what you provide would meet a requirement for level 1 support, just get in touch with us. Let us know. We see a lot of partners, they say, well, we don't provide level 1 support. And we say, well, what do you do? And they say, oh, well, we have a help desk. We have a ticketing system. Some even say, and our help desk people are Sophos technician trained. Well, as long as you are doing that initial triage, that is a perfect example of level 1 support for Sophos products. So please speak to us if you're concerned, or if you'd like to know more about what you can do to provide a more rich level 1 support, you can let us know. Typically, the MSPs are responsible for provisioning and configuration, or doing that hand in hand with a customer for those co-managed IT scenarios, invoicing their own customers, and then procuring through distribution. So just to throw a little bit of product into this, I did want to sort of mention the MDR specific areas for those VARs, MSPs, and MSSPs. I think MDR is a perfect starting point if you are a value-added reseller. So you're a reseller, you've started looking at services that can add value. You're looking at taking that stepping stone to become a managed service provider. Or if you're a managed service provider that wants to really get into the security services, again, MDR is a great stepping stone to be able to say that you have those managed security services. There's a couple of different ways. Well, there's three different ways, and we've got partners all over the UK doing this in each of these different ways. It's very flexible, especially through the MSP program. Number one is to just sell the Sophos branded MDR. So this is the instant SOC, the SOC in a box. It's the ability to sell the Sophos branded MDR, and you can rely on our brand and our industry analysis and our market results to really push the value of that and say, well, it is Sophos powering it. It's completely transparent. You're going to talk to their MDR team. It's a Sophos MDR. The other option is to use MDR to extend your own service, which I'd probably say is one of the more popular. These are for those MSPs where maybe you have IT teams, you maybe even have security specific teams, but not quite your own SOC just yet, or you're looking at getting there. In which case you can use MDR to extend some of your own services. The collaborate method, so being able to use the collaborate method with our team to get a bit of knowledge transfer, to learn what our team does and get hands-on with those cases with our team. And then lastly, using XDR to create your own service. So we have a lot of MSSPs. So those are managed security service providers that do have their own security operations centers, and they do have their own security analysts. But what every SOC does need is a tool set to be able to get the data to feed into their SIEM platforms, to feed into their SOAR, to drive their MDR service. And for that case, we'd say, well, with Sophos, you can use the exact same set of XDR tools that our own MDR analysts use with Sophos XDR. And I've got a little bit more just on each of those. So when we talk about that instant SOC, so this is that immediate value. It's a 24/7 service. You put that in authorized mode. From an MSP context, you can decide if you want our MDR team to contact you directly or the customer, but that's it. It's authorized. The contact preferences are set, and that's it. We're off we go, 24/7 MDR service. The co-managed MDR service, again, very popular method. And something else I've seen is I've seen a lot of partners tend to use this collaborate mode to begin with. And they'll typically use the collaborate mode to begin with because they want to know what we're doing. They want to have the authorization to say, actually, Sophos, before you go and do this remediation, you need to tell us everything that's happened so we can then approve it. And we know what you're doing. And it's absolutely fine with us. It's collaborate mode right there. And after a few months of being confident in the services we deliver, they'll move to authorize. So they don't have to check everything that we're doing, but they still have that view in the partner dashboard and control over those MDR licenses. You can switch freely between the different modes. It doesn't cost anything extra. You can choose collaborate, you can choose authorize. And then also with collaborate, we've got what I like to call the out of hours tick box. And what that basically says is, you want the team to check in with you, but if something happens at 3 a.m, or if there's an active threat and all of your contacts are on site at emergency jobs with other customers, if that box is ticked and our team can't get in touch with you, we can move to the authorize and still fix that for you. So we've got that more co-managed situation there. And then the ability to deliver your own MDR service. So using our XDR platform to empower your own analysts. And something that's actually quite interesting with this is those same third-party integrations that we saw on the ACE slide with MDR will be coming to our XDR product. So we will be able to take our XDR platform and integrate those with third parties. So what does it look like as an MSP? How is that managed? Very straightforward. It is a two-tier management dashboard. We've got the partner dashboard and the central admin. The central partner dashboard is what you will see. Customers will never see this, only the partners will. And this is your central repository of where you will have all of your customers. This is where you will be able to create your new customers, change your licenses. So if you have a customer, they've just signed up with Sophos, they want to try Intercept X, you can give them Essentials or Advanced. 4 or 5 months later, they decide they want to upgrade to MDR. You don't need to place an order for that. You don't need a PO or a quote. You can go right into your dashboard and upgrade that customer on demand. This is also where you can provision, you can get your virtual firewalls, as well as integrate with some other tools there. And then the central admin is specific to each customer. Now, whether or not a customer sees this is entirely up to you. Every customer that goes at
Sorry, Kyle, I think we've lost your audio there.
side to give them some
You're
access.
back.
Oh, sorry, did it cut out
You're
there
back.
a minute?
Yeah, you're back.
Apologies. What I was saying is just on the central admin is the customer specific tenant. Customers will never see this unless you specifically want them to. And even in that case, we have role-based access control on both sides. So whether it's the partner side and you want your own staff to only have specific access to specific customers, or if it's on a customer basis where they do have an IT manager, he does need to get in here to pull reports, but you don't want to run the risk of him changing any policies, then you can give him read-only access into his specific central admin. So 2 tiers, partner dashboard and central admin. So just to sum up, I've just got a couple slides here to summarize these. How do our MSPs generate recurring revenue with Sophos? Well, we see them being able to sell product. Partnering with Sophos, you have access to our entire portfolio on demand. So whether you're doing that MDR, just offloading all your threat hunting through MDR, or if you just want to be able to pick and choose from this expanded menu of services. So if they need mobile licenses, they need device encryption licenses, you can just pick and choose as and when you need them. Another option is to enhance services. So essentially becoming the security expert for your customer, acting as the virtual CISO. Something that this idea of the trusted advisor is very popular, especially in cybersecurity. And to reach that stage, we need to enhance our thought leadership position with our customers, to be proactive, to help them with their solutions to their business problems. Once we can enhance those services. The idea is if we can become a trusted advisor for our customer, they will come to us first for anything, regardless of if they know whether or not we sell a product or service or not. They're coming to get your input and giving you that initial lead. And what Sophos really does to help drive this is things like being able to use MDR to protect your own environment. Very common. I think MSPs as a link in their own supply chain, very important to make sure that you yourself are protected, and you can, in those cases, you can become a case reference. Yes, we're selling you Sophos and we use it ourselves. Being able to do things like, and a good example of enhancing a service would be if you were doing regular account checks or security checks. Well, now you have MDR, you have the ability to pull these reports. So now you can deliver additional value to that service by just pulling their MDR report and sitting down and going over that with them. Or if you're doing something like phish threat, being able to say, well, we can educate all of your end users. And not only that, we can provide the training and give you a review every quarter and then another at the end of the year, however you'd like to build that out. But just a lot of different ways that Sophos there can enhance those services. And then lastly, the expansion to cloud. So we've seen a lot of public cloud migration. It's very, potential to be very lucrative. There's a lot of work involved, so we want to make sure that it's valuable. But what we want to do is we want to try to demystify the cloud. We don't want that to be seen as a challenge. For example, those server licenses, when I mentioned they were hybrid cloud ready, regardless of where your customer server lives, it's the same. Sophos makes it easy with the same server environment. Customer has a Sophos firewall on site, and now they've closed their office. They're moving to remote, but they still want to use Sophos firewall. Absolutely fine. Virtual firewall as a service and run it through a cloud environment. So we try to make that expansion to cloud pretty straightforward. I've just got a few differences here in that, just an overall summary of that go-to-market. I mentioned earlier that I've mentioned a lot, this is the monthly program, so it's not a predefined term, it's a monthly program. You don't have to specify a quantity of licenses. They are on demand. As and when you need them, you can deploy them, and they're billed monthly based on what you've actually used. So it's usage-based billing that is monthly. There's no quotes needed. So if you did need to create a new customer, if you wanted to deploy more licenses, you can just go into Sophos and do that. We do have an MSP cost calculator built into our price list. The pricing, so this is quite a big difference compared to the Sophos reseller program or the standard partner program, which is that we do not have an MSRP for our monthly licenses. It is a partner buy price. And then you are free to then add up as much as you'd like. Now, I know that can be a bit daunting at first because you've got this and you say, well, where am I supposed to start? And that's where our MSP team can, definitely help you with that. We can look at those products. We can look at help you look at those services that you're delivering now, help you to understand those products a bit more, and what type of markups you'd want to add. If you think that your customers are absolutely technically inept and you are going to need a lot of time supporting them and deploying these products, you might want to put a bit higher of a margin on top. What's very common starting point is to look at your partner program margin. So let's say you get a 20% margin, then you can start to put 20% onto your buy price. But it's flexible. It's designed that you can pick and choose products, stick them into existing services that are already profitable that you don't actually have to mark up, or just make your own security bundles based on different combinations of security products. They are partner-owned licenses, so they are not end-user owned. They are partner-owned. The T's and C's and the EULA is a little bit different for the monthly licenses. For a reseller license, it is the end user that owns those licenses. For the monthly licenses, the MSP program is the partner that owns those licenses. So a scenario is you have a customer that would like a different partner to manage their Sophos licensing. If it is a reseller license, that end user has the ability to say, I want this other partner to take over my licensing. And that's the only permission we need because they are the legal license owners. However, if they are on monthly licensing, there's a lot more security for you in your business because we would need your permission before we could move any of those over. So you have full authority over the licensing, the deployment. If a customer is out of contract with you, you can stop those licenses, you can deploy more, take them away. They're partner owned. All of the upgrading is self-service. So you go into Sophos Central, manage customer usage, select a customer, upgrade as and when you need to. And then we actually have the last point, which is the volume-based discount with aggregate license calculation. The reseller side does have a quantity price break per quote and per order. It's not that complex. We have different user bands, just like on the MSP side. If you're buying a termed license, depending on the size of the license you need, there's different prices for different sized organizations, but that's on a per quote basis, whereas on the MSP side, it's that volume-based discount with the aggregate license calculation. And just in summary, we like to just kind of keep it in 3 key points. You've got one vendor, one dashboard, and one program. So when we say one vendor, we talk about being able to simplify your vendor management, moving to cybersecurity as a service, managing that through Sophos Central, through the partner dashboard. And then through the program is the MSP program. So on-demand monthly billing, no order process, unless you need hardware. I'll put a little asterisk there, unless you need some hardware, no order process and no actual license management needed. If you need to, a customer says, well, I have 5 new starters, you don't have to do a midterm upgrade. You can just go ahead and deploy those 5 new licenses. Very easy to get started, no minimum revenue requirement. So you can start small and grow over time, join up, get your Sophos NFRs, try it out, put a few customers on, and then build up from there. And then as well as the volume-based discount. So that is it. I think I'm a couple minutes over on time, so cut it right there. But that's everything. So I just want to say thank you, Casey, for having me on to speak today. And I believe now I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Amy and Sean.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for that. So good morning, everyone. My name's Sean Day, and I'm the Sophos BDM at TD Synnex. So today, myself and Amy from Sophos's MSP team are going to be interviewing Commercial Director Craig Faiers from one of Sophos's longest-standing MSP partners, Arc Systems. So, hello, Craig. Thanks for jumping on. Welcome.
Morning, everyone. No problem at all. Good to talk as always.
Let's dive straight into the questions then. So to kick things off, could you just tell us a little bit about Arc and your Sophos MSP journey?
Yeah, probably like most of the people on this call, really. We're an IT MSP. We're based in Essex. We're a team of 60 people. We made quite a conscious effort 8 years ago now, probably, to move to a better security vendor than what we were doing at the time. For us, that was around the launch of the MSP program, which was really good timing because we prefer monthly billing. overtermed, in all honesty, so do our customers. So for us, that meant that a quick call to the MSP team and we're up and running. It was as easy as that, really. And then from there, where we are now, thousands of seats, hundreds of firewalls. We've really embraced the MSP. We're an MSP first business. So our preference now with all the customers that we deal with, unless they specifically ask for term, is to use MSP licensing.
Brilliant. And so the MSP Flex program itself, how does that fit in with the business model, so ARC's business model, and how's it really benefited you guys?
Yeah, it's really easy. Everything is per user per month. It works very well for us. We can turn a customer into or put an MSP license onto a customer in a few seconds. You set them up as on the central portal. If they've got an IT admin, you can give them a link to the portal. You can get them access themselves. They can manage it themselves. We can just supply licensing. We can do the full wrap of services, and you're away. There's no quotes. There's no deal reg. There's no term. We agree how many licenses the customer wants. But if the customer wants to go above that, they can add more, and then we just get a bill for the consumption and bill the customer. So it keeps things really flexible. It's very profitable as well, because obviously, as Kyle said, there's the number of users goes up, the cost comes down. So it's always nice when you get to a certain user banding and your cost comes down for everybody. That's really nice, because you know then that you're making more money out of all of your customers, not just the ones that you're selling it to at the newer price that you might have. So it's always great when you see that you've ticked over a band and then your whole price comes down, because it brings your whole bill down for everything, which I'm sure it's not
Always
great
nice
for you guys, but it's great for us. Yeah.
And so I believe you've been an MSP partner for 8 years now.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
could you tell us a little bit how the Sophos MSP team has supported you along the way?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So we started off just turning around to the MSP team and saying, here's our business, here's how many seats we've got out there, here's what we're looking for. You know, we want the nice things, we want the single pane of glass, we want the ease of access, the ease of licensing. And we turned around to them and said, look, we'll commit to you if you commit to us. And you know, most of these people on the call I know very well, so we've built really good relationships over that time. We're quite intrinsic to how the Sophos ecosystem works. They listen to us, they add features if we want. You know, there's a lot of two-way communication that goes on. It's not just vendor, supplier, customer. It's very much a two-way street and a good relationship.
Brilliant. And obviously you've been a TD SYNNEX partner now for many, many years. Could you tell the guys just a little bit about how TD SYNNEX as we are now, have been able to support ARC over the years?
Yeah, we use TD SYNNEX for demos a lot of the time. You know, we've done training with our team. TD SYNNEX have come in, have sat down with our team and retrained our team when MDR first came out, when significant change happened to MDR. We've done technical demos with them. We've done technical demos with customers. We're quite happy to, for want of a better phrase, wheel you guys out when it works for us. If a customer goes, oh, I really want to see a demo of this, and we go, oh, we can sort of do a demo, and we've got the expertise to do it. But if you really want to make it sing, bring someone who knows it really well. And that's where you guys have been really helpful for that. It just, you know, we've just involved you as much as we can really with our customers.
Yeah, it's just that extended arm, isn't it? And the extra resource, I guess.
Yeah, it really helps, yeah.
So obviously, we've got our Stream 1 platform for Sophos coming soon. It's already up and running across a number of other vendors for TD SYNNEX. You've obviously used the platform for other vendors. Could you tell everyone just a little bit about how that benefits ARC and how that's going to be useful for your Sophos MSP?
Yeah, it's visibility for us. It's just going to give us the ability to see who's doing what, who's billing what, you know, the costs that are there, the provision of licenses. It's a platform we already use for a lot of Microsoft stuff that we do. So again, it's reducing the number of disparate systems that we've got. That's probably like central as well. There's a lot of things going on in one place. And for our team, having that one place where we can see what's going on with the billing, what's going on with the usage, what's going on with all the customers, we can just give them access to a single place and away they go. It just takes it out of my hair a bit, because it just means that they can be self-sufficient. I can say, right, here's the access you need, pull the reports, look at the usage, you know, and then that works between our accounts team and technical teams provisioning very easy.
Thanks, Craig. And just to let all the partners know, we will be rolling out demos for the Stream 1 platform over the coming months. So yeah, if you want to have a quick look at the platform, just give us a shout and we'll get those demos set up and arranged for you. But obviously, great to hear you're happy with your support from Sophos and TD SYNNEX, Craig. I'm now going to hand you over to Amy.
Thanks, Sean. Hello, Craig. Nice to have you on here. So if we just move on to kind of the solution side of things, many new MSPs and actually even existing MSPs will be asking themselves and Sophos at the same time, what solutions should they be taking to market? So in terms of how, you were looking at that in the beginning, what kind of steps did you take to decide on what stack you should be offering to your customer base?
Yeah, interesting question. Actually, at the time, it was around antivirus. Really, then it was around InterceptX and anti-ransomware, and we took a broad look at who was moving best in the system and in the applications and the technologies that were out there. Obviously, you can look at your Gartner Magic Quadrants and different bits, but it's really about getting under the bonnet of what's coming, how well you're engaged with that vendor as well. So it turned out to be a bit of a no-brainer for us. And over the years, we've seen it go from InterceptX to EDR to XDR to MTR to MDR. As the products have evolved, and that means it's been a really good uptick for our customers. Really, we've gone, we can switch on this feature or that feature, or we'll go MDR now, or do you want to do this? So when we're reviewing our accounts, there's a good upsell opportunity there.
Yeah, and you just kind of touched on my next question, really. So in terms of how that's built out, from where you were to where you are now. So how has it changed? Obviously, we know that customers' needs are changing, particularly post-COVID. Obviously, you've grown as a business. The cybersecurity landscape is constantly changing. So how has your security stack evolved in that time?
Yeah, I think our security stack has evolved as and when Sophos has, really, and as a key partner for that. But also around our own team we've got a security team. They're not 24/7. It's not a SOC service. It's a respond to alert service. We looked into how much it would cost to fire up a SOC and do the SIEM setup with full 24/7. It's not quite the right fit for us as a business. So the Sophos solutions fit really well into the security team that we've got, and we can do what we want to do around it. So if we do want to do collaboration with Sophos, we can. We actually set our MDR to authorized. So if the MDR team pick up something, they're on it straight away, and they work with us on it, and we get a dedicated threat case and lead on that as well. That works very well for us. It's a good fit for our business. We could do a fully managed SOC, but it's a lot of money. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of expertise. A lot of management. It's a lot of overhead for the business. That's just something we haven't got to. We don't think we really need to with MDR the way it is.
Perfect. And yeah, just again to build out on that a little bit more. So obviously you've said that that you're kind of taking our MDR or managed detection and response service to market, which is basically our human-led threat hunting service offered 24/7. So you obviously looked at that from your own side of things. Obviously, it was an expensive thing to run and something you couldn't run 24/7. And you're obviously saying it benefits you from that perspective. Are there any other benefits that you're seeing by working with our MDR team, and any kind of benefits you've seen from your customers as well?
Yeah, it's that knowledge that your customers are protected. You've got an expert team. It follows the sun. Our team learn from the MDR team. It's a really good fit for us. I mean, it's the expertise that you need at that level to operate in the way that the MDR team do is substantial. You can't just put some junior people at it and say, go and look at alerts. You need that experience to know what happens. And we see the MDR team, when we've seen them come to us and say, we found something, it's often at the stage where it's privilege escalation or someone doing something unusual, or it's before the actual attack has happened. So that's golden for us, and we can't sit there as a team ourselves all the time and be looking at everyone who's doing everything in the background. But with the intelligence that Sophos brings to the table, there's a lot of components and additions that we just can't do ourselves very easily.
It's great to hear that you're seeing those benefits. And if we were just to kind of, obviously we don't know quite what's always in the future, but if we look towards the future, what do you think that looks like from ARC's perspective as an MSP, in general, in security, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, we bring to market what you bring to market, really. So, you know, if there's an MDR evolution, which there has been over the last few years, we like to bring that. The integration piece is key for us as well, in terms of integrating different applications into the MDR team as well. We're Sophos firewall heavy. We did a big piece about 7 years ago after we first engaged with Sophos about firewalls and what works and the synchronized security piece. That's key to our business as well. You know, we've got hundreds of firewalls out there now. We know what we get for those firewalls. We know how they work. Our team are trained on them. We're a Sophos Platinum partner, so we've obviously invested heavily in working with Sophos to make sure that we're bringing as much of the stack as possible. And for us, that means a bit of land and expand as well. So we might go antivirus first, or InceptX, or MDR, and then we might go firewall, and then customer turns around and says, oh, I need encryption for Cyber Essentials purposes or security purposes or insurance, and we can turn that on very easily by provisioning it. Especially with MSP level, you can go in and just turn on the products which they're allowed access to. So if you've got an IT manager, or we can do it, you can deploy it once the agent's on. It's very, very easy to make those changes. If you want to go from InceptX to MDR, it's about 3 or 4 clicks, I think, and you're away, and it deploys and you're there. So, you know, it's a very simple process for us. So in terms of the future growth, ease, really, you know, what can we grow? How do we grow it? How easy can we do it? What does it need from us for business? The MDR stuff makes it very easy from that perspective.
Very good to hear. So my final question to you. So if there's another organization on the phone listening today that wants to kind of either get into the MSP world, or potentially is already in the MSP world, wants to grow, or if somebody's you know, listening to this after the fact, in terms of what you see, in terms of like the reasons to choose Sophos, what would you say they were?
I mean, it's about flexibility for us and ease, as I said earlier. Really, it's about how quickly we can go to market and how quickly we can onboard a customer. You know, sometimes we see customers who come to us that they're in the middle of a big issue, a breach maybe. We can onboard them to the MSP platform very quickly. It's about aligning yourself with the right people as well, the right vendors and the right fit, and does it fit with our business, as I mentioned a bit earlier on. You know, we see some vendors out there that don't have an MSP program, that doesn't fit with our business, so that's not a priority for us. And speak to the MSP team if you're not sure how to get started on the MSP Flex program with Sophos. Have a chat with Kyle and the team. We've done that a lot over the years as we've onboarded different products. They can do some really interesting stuff for you in terms of price breaks and levels and different bits that we've done with them over the years. If we've turned around and said, look, we really want to do X, and they say, well, we'll charge you Y, and then you can sort of balance it out and put a bit of commitment in there, and it's a two-way street.
Perfect. So I'm really pleased to hear this all going well. I'm really pleased as well. I'm sure we all are to know that your experience has been good with both Sophos and TD SYNNEX as well. Yep. It's very easy for us to kind of toot our own horn and say how good we are. But it's refreshing to hear it from a partner in the way that you've articulated it today as well. And I'm sure that that's really going to help some of the MSPs or potential MSPs that are on the phone at the moment. So really appreciate your time and you joining us today, Craig. And thanks again to Sean as well. So no I think we're just going to go into our live Q&A. So I'll hand over to Casey.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much, Amy, and thanks, Craig. I'd like to say nothing better than hearing it straight from the horse's mouth, and I mean that in the least offensive way possible. So, brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, so we've only got a couple of questions to get through in the last couple of minutes or so. So the first question, I think, is straight back to you, Kyle. Chris has said, what was the caveat,
yes.
Except in the UK on slide 16?
I saw that.
I can't remember what slide 16 was.
So yeah, so I do apologize, a slight typo. So that slide is from a strange in-between period where we had just onboarded our distributors in the UK. So we could start saying that we use distribution, but before we had all the hardware in place, which is why we had that little caveat. I've taken that out as soon as I saw Chris's message. If we actually go back, I believe it was this slide right back here, which I've already taken out of the bottom right, because it is standardized. All of these apply, so it is still there. All 3 of those points still apply. Distributors are completely able to handle the hardware logistics for MSPs. We're all good to go. So I do apologize for that bit, but
Nothing
very good
like
catch.
being called out in a public
It was
environment,
mixed
Kyle?
right there in the corner over the Sophos logo. So I made this slide. So thank you for that, Chris, and apologies, just a typo there.
Thank you very much for clarifying that, Kyle. Okay, so the next question that we have is, Kyle, that you mentioned that there's several integrations available for MDR. Could you expand on what exactly kind of what you mean by those and what those integrations are?
Yeah. So yeah, it's a good point. I didn't actually, I mentioned a lot around the MDR integrations, but just time constraints, I didn't go into the full sort of integrations bit, but a slide would be useful for that. So when we talk about MDR integration, so previously Sophos had the product MTR, Managed Threat Response. Worked very much like an MDR solution, which is already an established service. However, MTR only looked at Sophos. We could only look at our own products, so we couldn't really call it MDR. And then last year, when we acquired SOC and their specialization was being able to take telemetry from different sources and try to triage that and put it in one area. And that's what we were all about, that consolidation, getting that view. So when we acquired SOC we were able to incorporate that technology and turn our MTR into a full-fledged MDR product. What that means is we can actually integrate with other third-party vendors. So with our integrations, we have endpoint integrations. If your customer already has SentinelOne, if they already have Trend Micro, if they have Defender, very good example, we can actually layer MDR on top of those without having to rip and replace their existing protection. So like a sensor-only MDR. We can integrate with different firewall vendors. So they really want Sophos MDR, but they're on Fortinet firewalls. Well, we don't need to have a conversation about shifting that huge investment that you've made in Fortinet, which is working great for you right now. But if you're using MDR, we do have an integration, so it's worth setting up that integration so our team can actually take that data, take the data. So we've got a range of integrations across different endpoint vendors, firewall vendors, third-party email providers, network detect and response, or network vendors like Darktrace, and identity providers and the public cloud. So a range of different integrations. If you'd like a more deep dive into those, please do, anyone reach out after. We can go into, the integrations, how we use them, what they look like, those kinds of things. So hopefully that answered it for them.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And we've got 3 minutes left, so quick fire on the next one. Which PSA and RMM tools do you integrate with?
Integrations again. So integrations on a slightly separate note. We've got the MDR integrations. Then we have the PSA and RMM integrations. So PSA, professional services automations, then RMM, remote monitoring and management. So really popular vendors for those. People like Kaseya, who had their VSA, then they went and acquired Datto for the Autotask PSA and Datto RMM. Like ConnectWise. ConnectWise has Manage, which is their billing and ticketing. And then they have ConnectWise Automate, which is their RMM. And we integrate with both of those. We have a plugin for ConnectWise Automate, and we also have an integration with ConnectWise Manage, where you can actually sync all of your Sophos usage through Sophos Central to your product catalog and pricing for ConnectWise Manage. We also have the ticketing available for ConnectWise Manage, so we can link in with that ticketing system as well. So those different integrations, that's just a few. I mean, we've got the Kaseya piece, the ConnectWise piece, we've got script deployment support for people like N-Central, Ninja, Synchro. So we've got a few different sort of integrations there.
Yeah, thank you. And unless anyone wants to submit a question very quickly now, that was our last one. So just to close off, thank you so much for all of our speakers today, Kyle, Amy, Sean and Craig. It's been fantastic, and I think we've been able to provide a really kind of well-rounded overview of the MSP program today. So if anyone on the call or anyone who is listening to this in the future would like any more information about the MSP program, you have the team here at TD Synnex to support you. We can be contacted on our team email address or just give us a call directly, and we can either deal with you directly or we can help support you from a Sophos perspective with that resource as well. So please reach out to us. I hope you found the session interesting, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future. Thank you very much for joining.